Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to Court of the Edijester once again, good people. How are we? We've got another case here that I think is worth looking at, and it is in the Americals. Oh, say, can you see? What a lovely voice. Anyway, enough of Bane. Onwards. Now, come and join the Warrior Teachers. Buy me a coffee. If you want me to keep going, this is what it takes. I'm really sorry, but that's the way it is right now, unfortunately. So come be a Warrior Teacher or, subscribe to my Substack. Go on YouTube, subscribe, the usual stuff, right? Okay, that would help me out tremendously if you can. So what we've got is another case of a Christian teacher. Now, you'll remember, I covered one the other day about this, but this one's in America, so it's worth looking at to see what the situation is there, because this is terribly interesting. But before we do, somebody asked me yesterday in the comments on the Substackage, what's my take on gay marriage? Now, that's an interesting one. It seems to me that gay marriage is where the rubber hits the road. In many cases, where people think this trouble started. And it's obvious to me that there is some evidence that that is true. I was never a fan of gay marriage. I was never a fan of the idea. I don't want government involved in the marriage business at all. It's that simple, right? I don't want them involved in it at all. I don't think it should be anything to do with government. But I think that the idea of a civil partnership was enough, provided the civil partnership provided you with all the benefits of being a married couple, which it did to a large degree. There's only a couple of things to clear up, I think. A civil partnership is more than enough. And a marriage struck me as an infringement. But I was still glad when it happened. I was pleased for the people that wanted it. But I wondered whether it was a step too far. And I know many other people are too. I don't necessarily think it was. But I just don't want government involved in the marriage business at all. It shouldn't be a matter of that. It should be, outside of government. But civil partnerships should, in theory, for me, be enough. It doesn't stop you having a party, does it? And all the other stuff that comes with it. Do I think that there should be incentives for people to have children? Certainly. I think we've got a problem with the population growth, and if we don't do something about it, we're going to be in real trouble. But I don't necessarily think that gay marriage was a necessity. There we go, I've said it. That'll upset some of the gays, but tough. I don't think it was. But then on the other hand, I like the idea of civil partnerships and no marriage at all. But that's just me. And get the government away from it. I don't want them to have anything to do with it. So there you go. Hope that clears that up. So let's have a look at this Christian teacher fired for refusing to use transitioning pupils' pronouns. The school to pay Peter Vlamings $433,000 after Virginia top court ruled free speech rights were violated. This is great news for America. Go the USA! A Christian teacher has been fired for refusing to use a transgender student's preferred pronouns. Peter Vlaming lost his job at West Point High School in West Point, Virginia, after insisting that referring to a biologically female student by male pronouns went against his religious beliefs. Now the school board has agreed to pay £575,000, $433, which is the $433,000 in damages and legal fees after the Supreme Court of Virginia ruled last year that the school had violated Mr. Vlaming's freedom of expression rights. Following the ruling, Mr. Vlaming said that he hoped his victory helps protect every other teacher's and professor's fundamental First Amendment rights. I was wrongly fired from my teaching job because my religious beliefs put me on a collision course with school administrators who mandated that teachers ascribe to only one perspective on gender identity, their preferred view, Mr. Vlaming said. I loved teaching French and gradually tried to accommodate every student in my class, but I couldn't say something that directly violated my conscience. In other words, Mr. Vlaming said, no. Clearly and without any equivocation, no. I ain't doing it. I'm not playing the game. I'm not calling she, he, and he, she. It's that simple. Now, this is an interesting one in that the courts essentially are really going to decide these kind of knife's edge cases. We know this. I mean, there's lawfare going on all over the place. Doesn't mean the game's over. Honest to goodness, my advice to you is to never play the game. Never, ever play the game. Even with your friends. Don't do it, okay? It's the only way that we can stop this is to stop using their language. You don't play it. Imagine reality, trans world. Don't use the language that is in trans world. Don't follow the customs of trans world. That's how we end it, you see. It's continued. Mr. Vlaming had taught French at West Point High School for 6 years. When towards the end of 2017, 2018, look how long this stuff takes. He learned that one of his students, who was biologically a female, no, just a female, Telegraph, when they're going to get this right, who was a female, was intending to transition, no, not to male, was intending to undergo FGM. How about we call it that? The Supreme Court was told. In the autumn term, Mr. Vlaming alleged he had become aware that the child wanted to be referred to by masculine pronouns, a request that went against his Christian beliefs. His faith taught Mr. Vlaming that sex is fixed in each person and cannot be changed. It's not just faith that teaches you that, Mr. Vlaming, although you are right. It's actually just simply true. Out of respect for his students' preferences, the French teacher used the child's new preferred name, but avoided using the third-person pronoun. And there it is, in essence. Look at that very simple line. Out of respect for his students' preferences, the French teacher used the child's new preferred name, but avoided using the third-person pronoun. There it is. See, that's what they do. Well, they can call him by my name. My name's now Jane instead of John. Don't play their games. Don't get involved with them. Refuse to teach them. Refuse to spend any time with them. Do whatever it is you have to do, as long as you can stay secure. Now, Mr. Vlaming here lost his job. Maybe that's the price. You let me know what you think in the comments, but I wonder if that's the price. Just have to go ahead and do it. When your principles are so powerful and so strong and override what it is that's going on, maybe you just put your hands up and go, I ain't doing this anymore. I would say that even expecting teachers to tolerate these children or men dressing as teachers who are men dressing as women, to even tolerate it is creating a harassing environment. That's what I think. And unfortunately, we need a government that's going to do something about it. And we haven't got one over here. But it looks like they have got a court, haven't they, over there in the USA that's doing it. Right. In October 2018, Mr. Vlaming met with the student to explain his practice of not using pronouns in class and thought the meeting went well. However, in a phone call with the child's parents later that day, he was allegedly told he should leave his principles and beliefs out of this. You will do what we say or otherwise. Absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary. So, moving down, he sued the school, right? On the grounds of his First Amendment rights had been impinged upon, but a circuit court ruled against him. So he said no, and they said, yeah, no, you're not doing that. You've got to do what they say. So the circuit court went, we stand with this confused gender-addled grievance gerbil of a child. Mr. Vlaming was rightly fired. So the Supreme Court ruled now in December that it would reinstate the lawsuit against the school because it said Mr. Vlaming's rights had been violated. Now, as well as the payout, the school has changed its policies to conform to the new Virginia education policies that respect fundamental free speech and parental rights. In its ruling, the court said no government can lawfully coerce its citizens into pledging verbal allegiance to ideological views that violate their sincerely held religious belief. Tyson Langoffer, senior counsel for the Alliance Defending Freedom, said Peter wasn't fired for something he said. He was fired for something he couldn't say. As a teacher, Peter was passionate about the subject he taught, was well liked by his students, and did his best to accommodate their needs and requests. But he couldn't, in good conscience, speak messages that he doesn't believe to be true, and no school board or government official can punish someone for that reason. Sooner or later, we'll get into law that there are only two sexes and that gender identity ideology is a cult. How we do that, I don't know. But I'm going to keep fighting, and I hope that you are too, because Mr. Vlaming, and there he is. Mr. Vlaming. He looks like a teacher, doesn't he? He does. Mr. Vlaming, and there you are, Mr. Vlaming. Congratulations. I hope this goes some way to mending the awful trauma of what has been a very long affair, 2018 to 2024. The process is the punishment. And I hope that we see many more cases like Mr. Vlaming's across the West as we unveil, and basically untangle the nonsense that is gender identity, the woke virus, and everything else goes with it. Now, as an afterthought of the day, I watched Deadpool and Wolverine last night. Go watch it. It's grotesquely violent, but it's brilliantly done with a great sense of humour. And it's so anti-woke. It takes the piss out of trans, takes the piss out of everything. It's so anti-woke. It gives Gen Z a kick in the nuts. I really enjoyed it. That's a Marvel film that's good. That's a rare thing these days, isn't it? I thoroughly enjoyed it, so I do recommend go and see or go and watch Wolverine and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever the hell it is. There it is. You can have a look. All right. Other than that, come be a word teacher. Buy me a coffee. Usual stuff. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.